A little background on us. My brother and I farmed together in Cotton Plant, Arkansas. It's about halfway between here and Little Rock. We farm about 8,000 acres currently. Started messing with covers in 2010, and since we've swapped to what everybody's calling regenerative ag now, I don't know what you call it, I just call it what we do, but our yields have stayed competitive, but the difference is our budget's about half what it was prior to 2010. So I got a degree in botany from Arkansas State and a master's in entomology from U of A. Didn't quite make it to that doctor level, but I appreciate the effort, Jeremy. All right, so you don't know what you're capable of till you're backed in a corner. They've known this for a long time. Everything's going good. You're not going to change anything. So we're going to talk about what we're up against. Has any of y'all seen this slide? It's been out everywhere, and it's not moved much. This was from 18, but it's not moved much. We're still right around that $9 mark. So, you know, when I have reps, and no offense to reps, but when they're trying to sell me bags of beans or whatever at $70+, I say, guys, we're only getting $9 for soybeans, and I hear, well, but these yield so much better. Well, that's true. We got 100% increase of yield in the same time frame, so we've doubled our yield nationwide. That's fine, but we've also increased our inputs in that same time frame by 400%. That's not fine. So this is why we've made the transition to non-GMO. It's strictly economical. We're not trying to save the world, you know, selling non-GMO, whatever. We're just trying to make a living. So this is the reason. 90% of our soy acres are non-GMO. And overall, I'd say on the farm, about 90% of our acres, period, are non-GMO. That's corn. We've done a lot of non-GMO cotton. Of course, rice doesn't count, but non-GMO is a profitable model for us. So why non-GMO soybeans? Well, so these are retail numbers, and y'all may be getting early price. You know, take these prices with a grain of salt. This is just what we were able to come up with. Retail prices real quick before this deal, but extend 70 to 77, you know, 60 to 70 bucks on Enlist, 50 to 65 on LLGT 27s, 60 to 70 on Liberty Link, you know, on and on. And then private conventionals are 25 to 35. Then public conventionals, you buy them once at this 20 to 25, then you can save your seed and clean it. I got this set up out of an old man's shop that wanted it gone. It was free. I had to put a couple new belts on it, buy some augers. So now most of our beans are U of A's, you know, conventionally bred, Mississippi States, whatever. And we have $8 to $12 an acre in seed cost. So that's a huge savings right there out of the gate. On the backside, when you harvest, and I don't know if y'all can read this, it may be too small, but for non-GMO soybeans, I've gotten anywhere from $1 to $2 over Chicago. For GMO traded beans, you don't get any of that. You take whatever the basis is at the river and you go on, at least in my area. So you're capturing money on the front end and the back end, all right? So that's the basis of our plan. Well, the non-GMO conventionals, they won't yield, okay? I hear that all the time. All the new tech yields the best. Well, this was on our farm planted June 8th, is that right? 12. June 12th. And we were in the mid 60s and hit 70 with one variety. And here's one I save quite often, 5014, 2 bushels off the leader. So they won't yield. I don't know anybody that wouldn't take 65 to 70 bushel soybeans planted June 12th. I'll take them every year. So I'd have to belabor that point. Treaters, you know, when we started saving beans, we had to figure out how to get treatment on them. This thing right here will pay for itself so fast, it's not even funny. We get to add what we want, not what the retailer tells us. And in this system we're in, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, we may or may not use insecticides. We rarely use fungicides. Mostly the food that we put, or the stuff we put on our seed, is food for soil microbes. That's it. We don't use fungicides or insecticides much anymore. So we're self-treating for $4 to $5. Retailers are 10 to 12. So you can pay for one of these quick if you got any significant soybean acres. All right, so this is what we used to look like. So you've heard of stay clean, or start clean and stay clean, right? How many times have y'all heard that? Well, for me, that meant stay broke. That was a constant battle to keep it clean, because there's too much opportunity here. There's too much opportunity for pigweed to come up. So we've abandoned tillage almost 100%. This is what happens when you till in cotton plant. Can y'all see all those little green specks? Well, that was this fall. I had to do some fall tillage because I rutted some stuff up. That's a carpet of pigweed. That's about a square foot. So if you think we don't have pigweeds in cotton plant, we do. I'm not that lucky. But this is what happens when you don't. What do you see here? There's nothing there. There's no opportunity for those pigweeds to come up. So to say that pigweeds are going to keep you out of non-GMO production is wrong. Cover crops are the cornerstone to this whole deal. Behind the combine, we're pushing the combine. We are getting cover crops planted as fast as possible. This fall, it was wet. I ran 2 12-hour shifts with 2 40-foot drills to get my cover crops planted. And I came up 1,000 acres short of getting the whole farm planted. So if I can get a dry time here in the next month, I'm gonna get that last 1,000 acres. But, so the cost to plant this cover crop for us is $15 to $20 an acre. So you compare that to fall tillage plus herbicide to keep it clean, winter burn down, and if you keep those beds clean, they wash down all winter. So here comes spring tillage, spring bedding. I mean, just compare the $15 to $20 an acre for this to all the tillage and herbicides that it takes to do it the other way. So cover crops costing money, we can argue that point. This is what we're looking like right now on our latest planted. Everything is green. You know, we want something growing every day of every year. And that's not just to stop pigweed, that's for a multitude of other benefits that we'll get into in a minute. But this is what we want to look like come planting time. Now I'm 6'3", and this is eye level on me when I was taking these pictures. That's scary, isn't it? It's not scary when you look at the checkbook at the end of the year. You'll figure out how to make this work, because herbicide cost is a quarter of what it once was. You know, irrigation cost, half. It's crazy. But the bigger the better, and the more diverse the better. I can't stress that enough. Diversity is key. Because of this, green bridge. Have y'all heard about this? If you plant in the green cover crop, you're gonna get ate up by bugs that you're harboring in that cover crop. I know y'all have heard that because I've heard it a billion times. Is it possible for this to happen? Yes. But is it probable? No. Not if you manage things properly. I mean, you know, the predator-prey cycle works like it works. Works everywhere in the world the exact same way. Prey comes first, predator comes second. And it's a circular thing. So if you have a diverse cover crop and you have habitat for all these different things, and this is just a sliver of what's out there, pests are not going to be a problem. I've been doing this since 2010. I have yet to lose a crop to green bridge insects. Am I the luckiest guy in the world? Or are we managing it properly? I've been buying lottery tickets. I ain't won that yet. So I'm going to go with the second one. Nature will self-regulate. If there's food out there for them to eat, they will come eat it. If you don't disturb that habitat, they're going to stay there. So that predator-prey wave that I was showing you a second ago, this is what we see. This is my fancy graph for the day. This is the only one you get. I drew these in here. But typically what we see in a cover crop early, when it's first starting to bloom and starting to get big, we'll see, you know, aphids, stink bugs, plant bugs, we'll see spikes in that. But a week later, we'll see all the things that eat them right behind it. And then instead of getting another bump, because instead of wiping them out with insecticide and taking both of them out and tanking everything, we see a gradual decline and everything stays in check through the season. And that's based on our insect sprays compared to the rest of the state, this is exactly what's happening. So we'll get into that in a minute. Let's see if this will play. There it goes. So that's an 8330 tractor, slapping the hood. That's what we want. That's cereal rye and clover, and there was some radishes in there, but they're gone. There's my truck. It's taller than my truck. Now, that's what we want to be planting into.
So you're planting into that?
Into that green. That's when we have our best planter efficiencies, when things are green and tender. When it gets dry and dead, that's when you start having issues. Just another, to show you how tall that stuff was, this is my sprayer with the booms all the way up. That stuff was big. It was about the biggest cover crop I've ever seen, but that's what we like to see.
What's the mix you have there?
That's that cereal rye, clover, and radish. So there's clover down underneath the cereal rye, but from those videos, all you see is cereal rye. But with all that residue and stuff out there, you don't get pigweeds. You got dead residue and you got soybeans. Minimal herbicides.
You know, you just, minimal. Are you putting any pre-plant down?
We are. We'll get into that in just a minute. We'll go through the program for our non-GMO. But it's not much. It doesn't take much because pigweeds, they just don't make it. They can't handle that much residue. Because we keep this armor. This like 2 or 3 inches thick all the time. Non-GMO soybeans that are clean. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that you can't do that. You can't do it. Well, I don't know. We're doing it. This is my herbicide program. All right, these top 3 are standards. We put this at 24 hours ahead of the planter. All right, glyphosate, just a quart. And then behind the planter, we put 28 ounces of gramoxone, canopy, and metolachlor. And I spelled that wrong. Jeremy, why didn't you catch that? And then we always come in with a quarter prefix. And usually that's where we get to stop. There's occasional areas on the farm, like where we got a sickle pod problem or something, we'll have to come back with some classic. You know, if we had a thin cover crop stand, we'll have to come in with some blazer or something to worry about some pigweeds. Python, if we've got a little tea-weed issue, you know, select on the occasional, you know, Johnson grass areas. But those are occasional. Those aren't every acre. Those are selected areas where the pressure gets high enough to treat. So whatever the cost from here up is an every acre thing, pretty much. And this is very selective. Because some of these are expensive. Classic's not cheap. I don't like buying it if I don't have to. All right.
When's your prefix going out?
Just early post, you know, right before canopy closure usually.
Yeah.
It depends on how good the canopy and dual's doing. You know, if we start seeing stuff, we'll pop them, but we always put it out, and it's just because I'm not brave enough not to.
Yeah, that's where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. From then on, it's, if I see it, we'll worry about it. And if I could get braver, I might could take the prefix out. I don't know, but I'm still chicken. But since we've gone down cover crops, low disturbance, these are soybean roots. All right. We had some soil moisture sensors out this year, and we noticed that our soybeans were pulling moisture at 30 inches prior to any other level. So we thought the sensors were broken. So we went out there and dug up some roots, and we found these 30-inch long and longer, because that's as deep as I was going to dig because I'm fat and it was hot. But I mean, look at the fibrous roots on those soybeans and the nodulation down deep. That's at the end of a 30-inch root. And I don't know how good you can see that. It looks a lot better on my computer, but those are big rhizobial associations. Yep.
Is that just naturally, that rhizobium is already in the soil, you don't inoculate?
We do inoculate. We put a little bit in our liquid.
You do it
but
every time?
We do it every time. Okay. And we don't do it according to label, because if you do it according to label, it's way too expensive. But we just back into it looking at spore count. So, but I can remember just a few short years ago, 6-inch soybean roots, pitiful looking soybean roots is what I had. Now we've got this monstrosity, which is great because that's more access to nutrients and water. That's more opportunity for rhizobial association, which is more nitrogen for the plant, and colonization by mycorrhizal fungi. Anybody familiar with that? Yeah, that is a huge extension of your root system that is free as long as you don't tear up the ground. So this has led to, over the last few years, less fertility and less irrigation. And we'll get into that here in just a second. All right, this is how we justify our less fertilization. This is our buddy Dan Prevost. He pulled this data out of Mississippi. Jack knows him. This might have been on your place. Was this your place?
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, he pulled 5 samples, sent them off. He wanted total nutrients and then malic 3 nutrients. Look at the differences in the P and the K. What they say we got versus what's actually out there. And you can look at that on every sample. 10 times. So then he extrapolated that to removal rates of 230 bushel corn, 75 bushel soybeans, and 3 bale cotton. If you didn't add any P or K and assumed no redeposition from any other source, you'd have 46 years worth of K for corn, 29 on beans, 46 on cotton, so on and so forth, before you ever saw a deficiency. But you have to have active soil life to access that. You got to have something mineralizing that nutrient. Soil is full of this stuff. And this is 6 inches. Imagine what it could be at 30 inches. There could be enough for hundreds of years. I mean, we don't know. But that's the justification for where we have stopped. We have stopped putting out P and K in granular form. So we stopped doing that in 2016. Now we're sat testing with a crazy Australian. Me and Jack are messing with this guy. But look at my P level. It's elevated. It's borderline a problem in the plant. This is sap. And my K level is in the high level. And I hadn't put out anything since 2016, other than a very small sniff in an infertile. My problem is micronutrients. So we're trying to address that. So we do fertilization for soybeans is strictly that infertile, and it's 90% food for microbes, sugar, calcium, micronutrients. So, but over fertilization, we know this leads to pest problems, excess nitrates in plants, more bugs. Everybody knows that. Increased disease, excess nitrates in plants, more disease. This is all well-documented science. Destruction of soil life. You're putting out synthetic fertilizers that are actual sterilants. Muriate of potash is a sterilant. Anhydrous ammonia is a sterilant. That also degrades your soil aggregates. So you're reducing your infiltration rates, you're destroying your soil particles, and you're decreasing your pH. How many people got to put out lime because they're putting out so much fertilizer? You hear that all the time. And then when you get the pH out of whack, or you've got a high level of a certain nutrient, it reduces the uptake of a different one, so you get deficiency symptoms that don't make any sense according to your soil test. So, over fertilization, I'm not telling you to quit fertilizing, I'm just telling you to think about it a little bit. You'll save money and you'll do a little better job for your soil. But bottom line is, healthy beans got less pests, less disease, they require less fertility, and it all comes to how we treat the soil. So this is why I can grow non-GMO soybeans. So we're talking about insect control. And back on that fertility thing, you would have noticed my ammonium level in my plant was high. My nitrate level was very low. Well, this is state average sprays. So the state, they said 40%, this came from university, 40% of the acres got sprayed 1.25 times. And primarily were diamides. I think the 1.25 time is somebody tried to go out cheap with a pyrethroid. They knew it was resistant, but they tried to get lucky and then had to come back with a diamide. So you're talking 12 to 18 acres, or $12 to $18. And then if you're custom applying, another 6 to 8. We sprayed 25% of our acres one time with halogen. Does anybody know what halogen is? Man, that stuff's great. And it is dirt cheap. So I don't know why everybody doesn't use that stuff. But, you know, this is more pronounced in the cotton, but in the beans, we sprayed less of our percent acres in less times. And I think it's directly from our predator populations and our nitrates being lower than what they could be. So can non-GMOs yield? Yes, they can. We had the majority of our non-GMO beans that were planted in the first half of June went in the mid-60s. And as we got to late June, we fell to the 50s. In the last week of June, we got down in the 40s. I mean, that's just how it went. But we got everything planted in June this year. It rained in cotton plant until June. But I mean, I was really proud of my non-GMO beans this year. I was expecting like 50 bushel max, and we turned some good beans. But so my seed cost was $12, beans and treatment, because it was university varieties that I cleaned myself, treated myself, and like I said, I got between $1 and $2 overboard in 0 P&K required for that crop. So let's just look at return on investment versus a GMO system. And based on what we're spending and all those prices I showed you up front, I just figured an average of $50. So there's $50 you can put in your pocket. Premium on the back end on a $60 crop, there's another $60 at $1 a bushel. Can be more. Fertility savings on a healthy soil, $25 an acre according to university standard recommendations. 100 pounds of triple super and 100 pounds of potash. All right. Herbicide budget. I think Jeremy's going to show this. I'm within $20 of what Extend the Max program or whatever. I don't know if I'm on the high side or the low. He hadn't told me that, but I just figured them equally. So the advantage for non-GMO for us is $135 an acre. At $9 a bushel, you'd have to make an extra 15 bushels an acre. So can Extend beans or whatever make 80 bushel planted June 12th or 85? I don't know. Maybe they can, but that's a break even. So when you add interest on top of all that extra money you spent, what is it really? 20 bushels? 18? I don't know. But just because you're told it won't work, that doesn't mean anything. I get told that all the time. People tell me what I'm doing is not going to work constantly. And that might be why I do so much of it. But you got to forget everything you know, everything you hear. You just forget it and start over. Just clear your mind and try to learn and observe. And non-GMO beans are definitely possible. So that's all I've got. If y'all got any questions, yeah.
You're drilling your cover crop with an angle, and then you're planting with an angle too. Do you have any trouble, especially on the upper end, to get your water to take the road?
I don't have any specific way I do that. I just turn my guys loose, tell them to get it done. So that angle that you saw might have been straight in the next field, might have been circles in the one after that. I don't know. I just keep the planters full.
What about June 12th is wet, everybody knows. But when would you start planting if you had a perfect scenario? Would you be in April?
Oh yeah, I try to hit optimum planting dates based on Jeremy's data. I don't wait. By mid-April I'll have so much biomass. At that point, it's not worth waiting anymore anyway. And yeah.
What's your seeding rate and what type of planter? You got any cold?
We drill most of our beans on 15-inch, just with a 1990 CCS. No coulters, no nothing, just a sharp disc opener. We change them every year.
Planting rate?
Well, if it's early and cold and wet, we'll jack it up to like 160, 170. In June, I was planting 140, 120, getting plenty of beans up. Yep.
Location of delivery, that's going to be the location you're delivering to get.
To get premiums. Some was seed production for some private companies, and the rest was Ozark Mountain Poultry.
and I
Yeah.
know it works, I'll testify to this. But I cannot figure out how to make it go behind rice and tight soil and flat ground. I'm busting my head and I can't figure that one out.
Well, let's talk, cause I'm working on some stuff that,
I'd like for you to teach me.
well, I said I'm working on some stuff. But maybe the two of us can figure something out.
I'd like to try it.
Yeah, cause that rice bean rotation is actually some of my cleanest, easiest to keep clean beans. We're using annual ryegrass, cause I know I'm never gonna have wheat on those fields. And that's really the only one that'll survive on that gummy ground. Keith's got some stuff that will work on gummy stuff. He's got more of that than I do. But,
I've got some gummy stuff. I don't know that I've made it work yet.
yeah, well,
I run.
Yeah.
Clean stuff out. And
Yeah.
then I can't, I've got to clean them,
yeah,
and that's where I get my problem.
The
yeah.
best thing that I've had so far is prevented planting and then plant a cover crop in the summer and then just plant beans the next year. Just forget the rice crop.
Tell some people that own my ground that.
Yeah. If there's none of the other ones, I guess, Jeremy, you gonna jump up
What
there?
about protein level? Have you seen any protein level change in the beans?
We are doing some nutrient density testing because I've got some food companies that are after rice mainly. The soybean, my test weights were really, really good this year, and I don't know if that was a statewide deal or not, but I haven't started checking any protein levels. I imagine if they were out of whack, OMP would have told me because it would have messed their ration up.
Well, I'm hearing that possibly in the near future that they may be selling soybeans or proteins.
Now I did grow a high protein bean for that private company this year, and it yielded well.
Something I can't think.
Yeah, I don't HP something.
Chicken feed.
I think that's what their market is. Yeah, they only gave me 40 acres of it to grow. I think it was pretty new. You know, it was just for seed,
That's for seed production.
for seed production. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Did you say your bed width?
a lot of my beds are 76 inch. I get a lot of, you know, I remember not very long ago I had 38 inch beds and I would wick about halfway up them. Well, now if I water down 76, you can step in the middle of that and go to your ankle. So it's really pretty amazing what roots all the time can do. We've had a pretty steep learning curve on irrigation. Our infiltration rates went up to the point where we couldn't get water to the bottom of a field. So we had to abandon tall beds and go flat and re-pull middles every spring to disrupt the soil and disrupt the infiltration rate in that trench. So that's the only tillage that we do, you know, unless we have a crazy messed up fall like we did 2 years ago.
So
Yep.
what are you pulling those middles with?
It's a double. I used an old Orthman Lister bar like we used to pull for cotton up down there, and I put a double disc opener that we built, and then just a 7-inch irrigation sweep behind that. You know, the first one just clears the
Right.
cover, and the plow pulls the trench. It works really good.
Do you take special effort to not have a grain buggy turn in the middle of the field or up on the end or?
Yeah, if I see somebody turn around in the middle of the field, they're gonna get an ass chewing like you ain't never seen, especially if it's wet. Yeah, and I tell them all that up front. I said I don't care how long it takes, what the truck driver's saying. You go all the way to the end, and you come out on the side. Now I'm not controlled traffic. I want to get there one day, but no, you do not turn around in the middle of the field. We got to maintain those 76-inch beds all we can. So, yep.
So what were your bushel weights? How close to 60 pounds did you get your test weights?
I had on the corn or
No,
soybeans.
Soybean.
We ran 57 to 59 this year on soybean test weights, and corn was like 61 to 63. It was crazy, and I don't know if that was statewide or what. I just noticed it on my reports.
Your corn's all non-GMO as well.
Every bit of my corn's non-GMO. Yeah, I didn't have any traded corn this year, and I doubt I'll have any this year. Coming.
Any drift issues?
No, I'm kind of in a pocket over there. I know that's a concern in some parts of the state, but there's only a few farmers around me, and we all work together good. And most of them are family. You know, we're all related right in that little area. So I I think they get frustrated because I think sometimes they might want to grow and extend bean, and they do, but they don't spray dicamba because they don't want to hurt my beans or whatever. But they managed to keep it clean without it, or spray it early. I mean, we just try to work together on it. If I know they want to plant a block, I'll try to put all my non-GMOs on the other side of the farm or something, you know, just to try to mitigate that.
I thought that's why you may have waited to June 12th to plant.
Oh, no, I waited to June 12th to plant because that's when it quit raining. Yeah, no, I would have been planting 1st of April if I could have. I planted cotton in June this year. Some of it worked out good, some of it didn't. I'll be talking on that here in a little bit. If you want to hear about it, come on in. But June cotton's not the best. Yep.